Hey everyone, welcome back here to my channel where I play Planet Zoo. My name is Nisse and today we are building for the smallest caiman and smallest crocodilian in the world, being the Gulliver's Dwarf Caiman. So if you want to see a little bit about how I built this habitat or just simply learn a little more about the Gulliver's Dwarf Caiman, then please keep watching. Before we focus too much on the animal itself and what I built, I actually want to make a little special shout out today, and that would be to Serpent Design. I will link the channel in the comment section below, and I know he's a over 1.5 million subscriber YouTuber, so he doesn't need it. But I'm just so thankful this week for his channel. So I just really want to do that, and if you want to check his channel out, I highly recommend. What he does, if you don't know him, he basically just have a lot of animals of the non-conventional variety. He have like frogs, turtles, geckos. I believe he have 3 different geckos. He have a snake. All of these animals that a lot of people do not like, and he just finds the beauty in them. And what his channel then does is basically building these beautiful terrarium, aquarium, and what's it called, that the darium or something. Yeah, it's kind of a mix between a aquarium and a terrarium. I just don't remember the name for it. Paludarium. And he's just extremely creative with it and builds most of it from scratch, sometimes even the glass it's in. And I'm just highly impressed, and I'm just been binging a lot of his videos, and especially his paludarium for the what did he call them? It was some specific frogs he built for. I don't remember, but he built a habitat for his frogs, and they are really a special kind of inspiration for anything I built today. So yeah, I'm just so thankful for that. And I really like when you can take inspiration from one thing and insert it into another. So yeah. Again, link is there if you want to kind of see what he's doing over there. Also, he also have videos where he just talk about the journey he had with one animal through 8 years or 9 years or however long he had it. And yeah, and he have a really nice relaxing voice, much more relaxing and nice voice than I have. So yeah, highly recommend. Link again in the description below. However, the first thing I was gonna do after I finished up the indoors were of course building out the pool area, and they will have a big pool area. The habitat is a little small if you want 1 million babies in here, but for a family with 1 clutch of hatchlings or 2 clutches, it's fine. And especially because I want to give these small crocodilians the best possible breeding conditions, I make sure to have one-way glass all the way around between the guest and the animals. Besides that, I have 2 other things that I make sure to do to make sure they will have the peace they will need. One thing is making main part of the barrier here of wood, and as most of you guys know, and as I have talked about before in my channel, wood is noise isolating. It will not completely disrupt the noise, but it will hide big parts of it, so the animals will have a more silent habitat. And the last thing I do to not disturb the animals is making sure that this glass barrier do not touch the water. It's placed on above the water. It could go deeper, but the thing is that glass conduct vibrations, and underwater noise is not always an issue, but vibrations is certainly something you can feel in the water, and especially most crocodilians have special scales that is made to kind of feel these small vibrations, and that's actually how they find their prey. Now, having guests tapping on glass all day will certainly stress off the animals, because they think that there's small vibrations over here, so there's something over here I need to see, then there's someone tapping over there, so I need to go over there, and just keep in the same loop of needing to check out which vibrations is there and why. And I just don't want that stretch for my small caimans here. I didn't actually specifically decide that I wanted to have the Gulliver, sorry, not Gullivers. I don't know why I keep saying Gulliver. It's Cuvier's Dwarf Caimans. I didn't specifically want these caimans in my zoo. What I thought was, what is the smallest crocodilian in the world? Again, because we are in Smalzie Zoo. And I looked it up and I found two places. One place it stated that the Cuvier's Dwarf Caiman is the smallest caiman in the world, and one place it stated that Cuvier's Dwarf Caiman is the smallest New World crocodilian alive. So I'm not sure what New World specifically entail, but it was the closest definition I could find to a smallest crocodilian in the world. But I will just like to remind you that the Cuvier's Dwarf Caiman is not the only dwarf caiman in the world. There is quite a few to pick between, so dwarf doesn't necessarily always mean the smallest. It's sometimes only is like the smaller variation of the specific subspecies, and sometimes it means, well, these are the smaller groups of the species. But in this case, this dwarf caiman is also the smallest caiman. Caimans are, of course, reptiles, a group of animals that I have a kind of special kind of love for, because I understand why some people don't love them. And what I love, a big part of what I love about a lot of animals, are that they are cute and they are fluffy and soft fur and all of this. But I still really like reptiles, and I really can't explain why, because there's no logical way of pointing that out, but I just love them. But because they are reptiles, they of course belong in the Reptilia class. Under that we have the Crocodilla order, which is the order of the crocodilians, and they are in the family of the Alligatoridae. And the Alligatoridae is 10 species, including American alligator, black caiman, Chinese alligator, Cuvier's Dwarf Caiman, of course, spectated caiman, Yakara caiman, broad-snouted caiman, smooth-fronted caiman, alligator prenalis, which I believe is extinct, and the alligator olseni, which I also believe is extinct about 15 million years ago or so. So 8 of these species are alive, and as you can see, we have 2 alligators in here in the Alligatoridae, but besides that, the 6 remaining living species are caimans. This now may put you to believe that all of the caimans then would be in the same genus, but they are not. For the Cuvier's Dwarf Caiman, we are in the Paleosuchus genus, which only holds 2 species, which is the Cuvier's Dwarf Caiman and the smooth-fronted caiman. So the rest of the 6 species of caimans have other genuses, which means that these 2 caimans is as closely related to the alligators as they are to other caimans. Anyway, let's look a little bit of the habitat. And already now you probably have noticed that I do something that I normally don't do. I don't care about the terrain at all. I built my own terrain. There's two reasons for this. One being that it's really hard around the pool area to make the edge look good because of the way it looks in the game, so it gets these kind of squared angles, and it's weird, and it's just, yeah. So that's just easier to make pretty with the stones. Besides that, the caimans actually like kind of rocky areas most of the time, especially because they are cold-blooded animals, and all cold-blooded animals do really like hot stones. With stones, you can actually nowadays get nice hot stones which have heating elements within them, so they keep warm no matter what, pretty much. These are not perfect for reptilians and cold-blooded animals because these animals are made to bask in the sun that will come from above, and the most of the heat will come from above. Yes, they lay on the either sand or rocks because they will become hot in the sun, but the main sun part will come from above, and therefore I put these 3 lamps in here to kind of look like heating lamps, so they will have a nice heating rock up there no matter the weather. However, I am aware that this habitat is primarily built as a summer habitat, since we are in a temperate area. So in the winter you would have to pull them out of here and give them somewhere they could be inside with a pool area and a big enough area inside, because the indoor area here is simply not big enough for them. Then we have the ground that splits out here between the rocks, and I think the way it's built here, I figured out with this technique it actually looks kind of natural, because these animals will not literally dig in the ground, but their tail will kind of pull it around a little bit, and it will fall naturally down to any nooks and crannies that will be occurring on the rocks, so they would lay in these ways. I will do the same in a minute here underwater with this sandy texture. It is actually pulled out for the exhibit boxes with the water area. You can see it here, and it's just this nice very light sand, and here you can see I pull it out a little higher, so we will have a more sand versus rocks compared to what we have with the ground and the rocks. And I will then just notice that these natural occurring indents where the ground will limit where I can put the foliage. I do believe that it would be plausible that some of the places actually would have deeper holes with ground which were made for having trees in there, but that you could hit in that way. But most of the foliage we will put in here will be light-rooted plants that will kind of just need just a little bit to survive, and not this big root area. Again, because of the idea behind this entire habitat. I also am aware that some of the glass screens here are really low for the adults. But I just like the idea that some of them are really uncomfortable for the adult guests to look in, because then they will automatically pick some of the others, and kids will be able to get in the front really easy and look through the lower ones. I remember multiple places I have been, and not only as a kid, but since I'm not a high person at all, I have had an issue quite a few times where I cannot see because of my heights, because some tall people believe they should be in the front automatically, and I do not hate tall people, but it is a little frustrating when everyone that's taller than you are standing in front of you. Now again, I try to limit the amount of trees I put in here because it will need a lot for the root system beneath, but I want trees that have kind of a big crown so we get this shadowy tropical feeling of the habitat. I do know that these caiman do not only live in the tropical areas around the world, however they do only stay within the tropical climate zones, but what we normally think when we think tropical is the rainforest and the forest, which I really want in that back corner, so I want the dark shadowy area. But they do also live places like grasslands, and then of course all of the water areas, which would be swamp, riparian, marsh, freshwater, lakes, rivers and wetlands. And while we do talk about the biome they live in, let's just mention they live in Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Guyana, Paraguay, Peru, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, and Venezuela. Which actually also gives these animals a different issue for the habitat. We have talked about noise and disturbances, and we have talked about the heating lamps. But one thing I chose not to do were the misters. These animals live in very, very humid areas of the world, and therefore, naturally, their skin and scales are not built in a way where they can hydrate themselves. They will need the environment to do so. I thought about putting misters up, but because of the potentially very dry air that could be in the area where the zoo is, that would not help because the air around it, having no humidity in it, would either just pull the humidity out in the air and it would never reach the pavilions, or it would simply just make it fall to the ground very fast as water instead of humidity, and you want it as humidity. So I went for just hoping that the water areas would be enough and they would choose to stay in the water enough. Also, I didn't give them a mud bath. I kind of wanted to, but it's just really big compared to this area. I would love if a mother or frontier would make a smaller mud bath for the smaller animals. It's the same when you take the Asian small clawed otter, I believe it is, and it used that really big mud bath. It just doesn't make sense for me personally. When we look at the threats for the Cuvier's dwarf caiman, I will mention that of course we have the normal issues that is just issues for animals that live in this area, which is habitat destruction, which is both the forest, the water, but in this case it's also actually is because of the mining of gold in the areas. Besides that, we also have the intensive agriculture and urbanization that is going on in the areas in later years. It's a older issues that is actually still going on today. The indigenous people of their range do also hunt them. It can be for food, traditional medicine, or actually collected for pet trade. And you know me personally, I do not believe it should be legal in any amount to remove animal from nature for your own benefits, no matter the reason. If you should be allowed to go out and collect animals in the wild, then it should be to start a breeding program to help animals get back to the wild on a bigger scale over time, or in some regards to help the animals in the wild get better living conditions. I do not believe in I do believe in having exotic animals as pets, because we have animals that already been bred in captivity, and normally, especially with exotic pets, you will also get a better pet by getting a pet that have been bred in captivity, because it will be used to people already, which animal for the wild just won't have. So it's a win-win. Make sure if you ever get exotic pets that it comes from captivity, have been bred in captivity, and make sure if it is a rare animal you get your hands on, make sure if there's any way you can help out their wild brothers. You can enroll it in a breeding program once again, or you can simply just help figure out, okay, should I actually have this, or should it go to someone who can help that animal better? There's big variety of people, and there are also people who actually collect endangered animal in captivity to kind of give them the try to get the animal to a place where it can be released later on. And as my last note today, I would just like to remind you that whatever animal you have, being a dog, a cat, a snake, a bird, or a caiman, whatever it is, if you have an animal in your household, it is your responsibility to give that animal the best possible life it can have. Okay guys, that's all I got for you today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and as always guys, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification so you know the next time I upload a video. I really hope to see you again, either in the comments below or in the next video. Bye guys.